Special warm welcome to anyone who's new. Good afternoon. This channel is dedicated to helping people recover from spiritual bypass and specifically Neo-Advaita, but spiritual bypass as a whole. So, this is a little bit more of a journal entry, just sharing updates and progress and challenges on my journey to overcome spiritual bypass and the deep dive into Neo-Advaita I did. So a big part of Neo-Advaita and spiritual bypass for me was just trying to escape uncomfortable feelings, trying to escape responsibilities, trying to escape the messiness of life. And I think a lot of people turn to spiritual bypass for that, because there's a big difference between genuinely wanting liberation in a spiritual sense versus trying to escape from a reactive sense. And if you talk to me, I would have said, oh yeah, enlightenment is the most important thing. Liberation, that's what I want more than anything else. But it's very dishonest. It was really what I was trying to do is escape. And as I've shared many times, spiritual bypass, Neo-Advaita became an addiction for me. So I was just trying to run. I was basically doing addictive behavior and calling it spiritual. And so I stopped. I exited Neo-Advaita, 7 years ago. But now has been the journey to discontinue the spiritual bypass kind of stuff. And then that leaves the question, what am I going to do with my life? Well, at first it leaves the question, how am I going to cope with all this stuff? Because I've been running away most of my life, as have anyone who went serious into any kind of addiction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, sex, Neo-Advaita. They've been running from things. They've been not coping, or they've been coping in a harmful way. And so the first thing I had to deal with was, how am I going to cope with all this stuff? And I've been developing different ways of healthy coping, and still am. And I think that that's really a lifelong process for everybody, but especially for those of us who went far down the spiritual bypass, Neo-Advaita rabbit hole. But then the next thing is, coping is just to deal with things in the moment. It's like, how do I want to live? And how do I fit into society? What's my place in society? In traditional Vedic philosophy, that's a core question. We've been given a very watered down version. Thanks everyone for saying hi. We've been given a very watered down version of spiritual and Vedic philosophy. We've been given the spiritual bypass version. But traditional spirituality is integrative and helps you become a more efficient and harmonious part of the whole. So yeah, over the last couple of months, I've been exploring that of, what do I want to do? How do I want to live my life? Okay, I'm not just trying to escape anymore. And I've been getting some interesting answers. I've really been exploring the arts. Singing, dancing, improvisational comedy. I went to a lightsaber choreograph class the other day. That checked a lot of boxes at once, because I used to really be into martial arts. And I feel at home in those places, especially singing. I love them all, but singing, when I go to a singing class, I just feel at home. And I contribute, not just because I'm an above average singer, but because I'm passionate about it and I have ideas. And, one class I go to, we give each other feedback, and I really enjoy listening to other people's performance, and then we have a chance to give feedback and say, in this particular class, we usually only give positive feedback, like what worked well. It's kind of up to the instructor to handle the critical feedback, but to really listen and be like, oh, this person did this with their voice, and wow, they really engaged their whole body, or wow, their rhythm was really on. Like, it feels good to me. And that's a big part of what's missing in Neo-Advaita or spiritual bypass, is it doesn't honor individuality. In traditional Vedic philosophy, Our individual gifts are considered an integral part of the path. I've talked about this. It's called Swadharma, Svadharma. It means our dharma or duty based on our nature, and not like true nature of Neo-Advaita, but our personality. Like the flavor of our, you could say, soul or personality. Like, I'm a very creative, passionate being. And so in traditional spiritual paths, those gifts and those qualities are then integrated into your life, because our passions and our interests end up being a gift to the world. So, so it's been really interesting, because, I'll be sitting in an improv comedy class, or I'll be sitting in a music class, and I'll be so happy. I'll be participating. I'll be joyful. I'll be contributing, and then I'll have one of those old thoughts of like, this is meaningless, or only enlightenment matters. And I'm like, wow. They don't come very often, but they do still come sometimes. And I notice them, and I try to laugh at them. Thanks. Everyone's saying hello. So, we've heard the word dharma, and we think of Buddhism, and it's true, Buddhism uses that word a lot, but Vedic philosophy used it first, and I'm not saying that's better, just a fact of history. And in Vedic philosophy, dharma means that which moves a situation forward. And before you pursue moksha or mukti, liberation or freedom, you've got to pursue dharma in traditional Vedic thought, because dharma is very balancing and integrative. And so so it's very interesting to be like, wow, participating in singing classes and improv comedy, that is dharmic for me. That moves my life forward. It moves my life in a positive direction, and it actually has me contributing to society. Not create, normally we think of contribution as like create a giant nonprofit or something, right? But contribution is just that which increases harmony. I fit in with these groups. I enjoy these groups. Those groups enjoy me. The way I participate makes the experience better for everyone. And I'm not saying like something cosmic. I'm not saying like, oh, my presence there uplifts the whole class. It's just I contribute. And that's something that gets lost in any addiction or spiritual bypass, is this ability to participate. Because I got to the point where I didn't want to talk to someone unless they were talking about, quote, spiritual things. I didn't want to talk to someone unless the conversation helped me stay high. Because for me, spiritual bypass was about trying to be high 24/7, spiritually high. So yeah. Let's see if I have anything else to say. I think that's everything for now. Yeah. So thank you everybody so much for dropping by. And I hope this inspires you to inquire not what is your true nature in the non-duality or the Neo-Advaita sense of the word. What's your nature? What are your, what are your passions? What activities do you enjoy? What things light you up? And then to bring those in and to do more of them. Because that's, spiritual bypass in Neo-Advaita basically teaches all you got to do is connect to God, more in a dualistic sense, or that's more maybe a religious version, or Neo-Advaita is like, enlightenment is all that matters. Everything else is meaningless. Well, that just doesn't work. It creates dysfunction and disharmony. Now, there's a certain point on the path where you can say enlightenment is the most important thing, but there's, as I've shared many times, there's profound preparations for that first. Thank you so much, everybody, for dropping by. Wish you a blessed day. Take care.